you ever thought a simple bottle of lotion could actually get you fined at the airport? You step on the scale at home, your suitcase looks perfect. But then at the counter, the agent frowns. Sorry, you're over. Next thing you know, security's walking you away and your wallet's lighter by a few $100. And that's just the beginning. Every year, TSA hands out thousands of fines. Travelers get blindsided not just over weapons, but over everyday things, like a snack, a gadget, or even the pills in your backpack. The truth is, some mistakes just cost money. Others can get you booted off your flight, and a few are serious enough to put you on the no-fly list. So, in the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through 12 airport slip-ups that could wreck your trip, and how to dodge every single one so your journey stays smooth from check-in to landing. On April 15th, 2025, a 53-year-old man was pulled off a flight at Chicago O'Hare after TSA found a loaded Glock 9mm in his carry-on. His defense? Guess I left it in there. Hard to believe, but TSA says over 6,000 guns show up at checkpoints every year, and most passengers insist it was an accident. Here's the reality. Firearms can only fly one way: unloaded, locked in a hard case, checked in, and declared. Anything else is a fast track to fines that climb into the thousands, or worse, a ride in handcuffs. And it's not just guns. Sharp blades, pepper spray, fireworks, or even oversized bottles of liquid can trigger the same outcome. That jumbo lotion might seem harmless, but if it looks like you're ignoring the rules, TSA can treat it as intentional. Bottom line, before you head to the airport, double check every pocket, pouch, and side compartment. If it's sharp, flammable, or bigger than the liquid limit, move it to checked baggage, or leave it at home. A few minutes of checking now saves you from starting your trip with police lights instead of a boarding pass. Did you know customs can actually seize your Rolex? Or worse, fine you thousands just because you skipped one form? Picture this. You stroll through customs with a Cartier bracelet worth more than most cars. You think, it's mine. I've had it for years. Why declare it? Minutes later, officers pull you aside. Instead of sipping champagne at your hotel, you're signing papers, paying a fine bigger than the bracelet itself, and wondering how fast your trip just collapsed. What most travelers don't realize is that many countries, including the US, require you to declare anything over $10,000 in value, whether it's cash, jewelry, or even a single luxury watch. Skip it, and they don't see an honest mistake. They see smuggling. And once they suspect that, your items can be seized on the spot, your visa canceled, and in some cases, you're on the next flight home. The easy way out? If it's pricey, declare it. It takes 2 minutes, and it's a lot better than losing both your valuables and your vacation vibe. Do you think CBP can actually catch you with something as simple as your LinkedIn profile? One traveler found out the hard way at San Francisco. He landed on a tourist visa, smiling at the officer, claiming he was here just to sightsee. A quick online search showed messages about job offers and a tweaked return ticket. Within hours, he was escorted back onto a plane, not to his vacation, but straight home. That's the risk when your story doesn't match. Even a small half-truth about your plans can lead to immediate deportation. So, let me ask, have you ever been hit with tough questions at the border? You roll up to the counter, suitcase perfect, ticket in hand, ready for Paris. The agent scans your passport, pauses, and then shakes their head. We can't board you. Just like that, your trip ends before it even begins. The catch? Many countries, including the US and most of Europe, demand your passport be valid at least 6 months past your travel dates. Fall short, and you're not getting past the desk, no matter how many times you plead. And it's not just the expiration date. A passport that's torn, water damaged, or even slightly suspicious can sink your trip. One traveler learned that when a spilled drink warped the pages, he thought it was fine. The airline thought it looked fake. Result? Denied boarding, rebooking fees, and a ruined getaway. So treat your passport like treasure. Keep it dry. Check the date before you book tickets and replace it at the first sign of damage. Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and your vacation is one flimsy booklet that didn't make the cut. You know the scene. You've got 4 hours before your flight, run into an old buddy at the bar, and one round turns into five. By the time boarding's called, you're wobbling through the terminal with a whiskey cloud trailing behind you. The gate agent takes one look and says, "Not today." Sounds extreme? Nope. The FAA has slapped fines of up to $37,000 on passengers who show up drunk and disruptive. Push it further, and you're looking at lost TSA pre-check, or even jail. 10 years behind bars over tequila shots? Talk about the worst happy hour. Guess what? Drunk at the gate isn't just embarrassing, it's a flight killer. One passenger at LAX got so belligerent he was cuffed before he even made it down the jet bridge. Think a drink's harmless? Guess again. Ever imagine missing your dream trip just because you couldn't skip that extra round? Drunk at the gate? Total buzzkill. So sip slow, know your limit, and save the celebrating for when you land. Because if alcohol can flip your trip upside down, imagine what happens when that frustration spills over onto the very people working the counters. Flight canceled. Long lines. Tired passengers. One guy at Dulles in March 2025 decided he'd had enough. He swung at a United gate agent. Cameras caught it, police rushed in, and by the end of the night, he wasn't boarding a flight. He was banned from United for life. Think that's rare? Not really. Airlines log hundreds of these meltdowns every year. And the fallout is brutal. Yup, one swing tanks your trip permanently. Ever think yelling's harmless? Here's the deal. Airline employees aren't just customer service. They're legally protected. Raise your voice too far, and you could be escorted out. Throw a punch, and now it's assault, disorderly conduct, maybe even jail. Suddenly, your bad day is a criminal record. So yeah, delays suck. Bags go missing. But unloading on the staff won't fix it. It just makes your day spiral faster. A deep breath costs nothing. Losing your flying privileges? That's a bill no one wants to pay. And if all this already sounds familiar, angry passengers, police walking in, it's because we see it every week. But don't get too comfortable. The reasons coming up next will shock you even more, especially number 12, the one that catches travelers carrying medication they thought was totally fine. Customs officers don't mess around. One passenger learned that the hard way when a bag of homemade dried meat turned into a $500 fine before he even left the terminal. Imagine losing that kind of cash over something you thought was just a snack. The surprise is how broad the rules are. It's not only apples or raw meat that raise alarms. Even sealed products like herbal tea or dried mango have triggered penalties. To you, they're souvenirs. To customs, they're a potential biohazard. And pets? The stakes climb higher. Show up with a puppy but no rabies paperwork, and you could be staring at quarantine fees or worse, watching your plans collapse before they even start. So the lesson isn't never bring food. It's realizing that one innocent-looking item can derail your trip. When in doubt, declare it. At best, they wave it through. At worst, you save yourself from an expensive surprise and a mark on your record. That cheap bottle of Bordeaux you grabbed at duty-free? By the time customs is done with you, it can feel like you just paid a luxury tax the size of the Eiffel Tower. Here's where travelers slip up. Duty-free doesn't mean unlimited. It only means you bought it tax-free at the shop, not that you can walk through with a mini wine cellar. In the US, the cap is 1 liter of alcohol per adult. Cigarettes? 1 carton. Anything more, and you're basically volunteering to fund the customs budget. And officers catch it constantly. One guy tried stuffing extra bottles into his checked bag, thinking scanners wouldn't care. They did. His bargain red ended up as the most expensive hangover of his life. The funny part? If you're honest, most of the time you just pay the difference and move on. Hide it, and suddenly that $20 bottle comes with a fine, a lecture, and a story you'll be too embarrassed to tell at the bar. So if you're stocking up, know the limit. Otherwise, your souvenir might taste less like France and more like regret. A 42-year-old man in the Philippines thought he was being funny. At check-in, when asked if his bag contained anything fragile, he smirked and said, "Nothing fragile, just a bomb." Within seconds, security swarmed. His boarding pass was canceled, and instead of heading to Singapore, He spent the night in a police cell explaining his joke. Sounds over the top? Not really. Aviation treats words like bomb or gun as deadly serious. Even if you're just kidding, airport staff are legally bound to escalate. At best, you'll miss your flight and pay a fat fine. At worst, you're staring down criminal charges, deportation, or a lifetime no-fly mark. And it happens more often than you'd think. TSA, CBP, and airport police around the world report dozens of these jokes every year. Travelers lose their cool, crack a line to impress friends, and suddenly they're the headline. Passenger arrested for bomb threat at gate. Not exactly Instagram-worthy. So here's the rule of thumb. Airports are not comedy clubs. Keep the jokes about bombs, weapons, or threats out of your mouth. You might get a laugh at a bar, but in a terminal it'll cost you more than a round of drinks. Think no one will notice if you sneak a vape hit in the airport bathroom? The detectors will. Those little white boxes on the ceiling aren't for show. They can sniff out vapor in seconds. The moment they go off, staff know exactly which stall you're in. Subtle? Not even close. History makes it clear why this rule's ironclad. In 1973, a Varig flight went down after a cigarette butt sparked a cabin fire. 123 lives lost. Ever since, smoking on planes has been one of the fastest ways to get yourself flagged, fined, or worse. And people still try. One passenger in 2024 lit up mid-flight, thinking the restroom fan would cover him. Instead, the alarm tripped, the cabin crew rushed in, and the plane diverted. Imagine explaining to 200 angry travelers why they're late because you couldn't wait for a smoke break. Not exactly a hero's welcome. The deal is this: airports often have smoking lounges. Use them. On board? Don't even think about it. Vape clouds, cigarettes, even just one puff, all get picked up instantly. If nicotine cravings hit, gum or patches will get you through a flight. Far better than becoming the headline. Plane diverted after passenger sneaks a smoke. Did you know one misplaced power bank could cost you $500? It happened when security scanners lit up red at the carousel. Inside a suitcase was a chunky battery pack stashed in checked luggage. Agents pulled the bag, fined the passenger, and his trip began without a charger and with a lighter wallet. That's the danger with lithium batteries. If they spark in the cargo hold, no one can reach them. That's why airlines insist, keep power banks and spare batteries in your carry-on, never checked. Skip the rule, and TSA won't care if it's just for an iPhone. It'll go straight into the bin. The fix is simple. Pack laptops, cameras, and chargers in your carry-on, where crew can deal with any issue. A quick double check before you zip up could save you hundreds and keep your trip on track. You finally land in Sydney after a 14-hour haul from LA, jet-lagged but relieved. At customs, an officer waves you over. They unzip your bag and pull out 2 boxes of cold medicine, stuff you bought at CVS without a second thought. Suddenly, you're being handed a fine of 600 Australian dollars. Your meds are confiscated, and your innocent pills just got you flagged in their system. That exact scene played out in March 2024. A US traveler brought Panadine, an over-the-counter painkiller in America, but in Australia, it's tightly controlled because it contains codeine. No prescription, no paperwork, no mercy. Turns out, what's legal at home can get you in serious trouble abroad. Japan, for example, bans pseudoephedrine unless you have a special government import certificate. Mexico? It's been off-limits entirely since 2008. Even if your doctor prescribed it, the authorities don't care. It's linked to drug production, so the answer's still no. Think about how easy it is to trip up. That Sudafed in your backpack? Fine at TSA. A big problem in Tokyo. That codeine cough syrup you packed for your kid? No issue in the US, but in Sydney, it's a ticket and a record, and all because you didn't know the paperwork. The safe play is simple. Keep your meds in original packaging, carry your prescription or doctor's letter, and check embassy websites before you fly. When in doubt, declare them. Yes, even if it feels silly. It's better to answer a question at customs than to explain yourself in a holding room. So that's the rundown. 12 airport slip-ups that can drain your wallet, wreck your trip, or even put you on the no-fly list before you ever leave the ground. The difference now? You know them, which means you won't be the headline. If this saved you from a fine, a confiscated gadget, or even just the headache of repacking at the counter, hit that like button. Share it with your travel crew so they don't end up the cautionary tale. And subscribe for more no BS travel hacks that keep you flying smooth. Okay, your turn. What's the weirdest thing you've seen vanish into the TSA bin? Lotion? Grandma's fruit knife? A snow globe the size of a baseball? Drop it in the comments. I need to know which story makes my confiscated nail clippers look less embarrassing. See you in the next flight, minus the fines, the stress, and hopefully with your power bank and snacks still in your bag.